Hello everyone. Every page tells a new story. Welcome to the world of endless animation. The ant bully. They were very tired because of the continuous, unjustified attacks. That's why the ant colony cooperated to eliminate Lucas the Destroyer, who was sentenced to live among them in the colony. One night, when all the ants in the colony were asleep, Zoe went searching for the last element he needed to save his dose. After days of searching, the wizard finally found the fire crystals. He asked Spindly to light up the area while he extracted the metal from the rocks. The other ants sleeping below got annoyed because the rocks were falling on their heads. Zoki ordered him to go to sleep, but he ignored them and continued digging to complete his mission. After a short while, the wizard finally managed to break the rocks and collect the crystals. The next morning, the workers returned to their tasks as usual, interrupted by the destroyer. The ants' food was located in the garden of the Nika family's house. There, Lucas lived with his father, mother, and sister Tiffany. The boy had no friends and was always bullied by the neighborhood kids, especially Steve, who was the oldest among them. Because of this, he used his strength and size to intimidate the kids in the neighborhood. To avoid his bullying, Nika and the others ignored him and joined him, but he still wouldn't leave them alone. He gave Lucas a severe beating and then walked away with his gang. Lucas was very upset. He took out his water gun and attacked the ant nest to vent his anger. In fact, this wasn't the first time. Whenever he was humiliated, he would attack the ant nest as a way to release his frustration. Due to his repeated attacks, the entire colony had come to know him as the Destroyer. Zoe tried to stop him, threatening and using his authority and magic on him. But Lucas stepped on the ant with his foot and threw him far away. Hoofa tried to talk to him, thinking he might listen and stop his attacks. But all her attempts failed. Zoe wanted to stop her before the boy crushed her. Lucas was about to finish them both off when his mother Doreen called him from inside the house. She said she was going on a romantic trip with her husband Fred to celebrate their wedding anniversary. She bid farewell to Lucas but felt he was upset. She asked him what was wrong, but he was angry and told her to leave. The couple left, leaving their children Tiffany and Lucas with Grandma Mamo, who was upstairs in the house. But Grandma dropped her dentures in the garden. Lucas went to retrieve them for her and discovered that the old woman was building a fortress in her room. When he asked her why she was doing that, all she said was that she was preparing for an alien invasion. Meanwhile, Zoe in the colony was working on his potion, but something was preventing his magic from working. He tried mixing the fire crystals, but the liquid didn't change color as expected. Hoofa tried to encourage him, but the council leader arrived at the perfect moment, interrupting them. He said that due to the Destroyer's repeated attacks, the food supply had significantly decreased. He asked if Zoe had any solutions. The wizard assured him that he would soon finish his potion, which would save the colony. The next morning, Lucas was asking Steve something when Steve suddenly threw a bomb at him. Afterward, he threw another one and walked away. Fortunately, it malfunctioned before it exploded. Lucas got very irritated and looked at the ant nest, planning his next attack. At that moment, Zoe was still working on his potion. He discovered that the fire crystals weren't working because of scratches on them. He used glue to cover these flaws. Then the wizard tried again, and finally, the potion was ready. As they were celebrating, they were surprised by a strong stream of water that flooded the ant nest and swept them all away. The entire place was completely destroyed. Fortunately, Lucas was approached by a strange man who told him he was from a pest control company named Stan, and that his father, Fred, had requested their services but forgot to sign the contract before leaving. The man managed to convince the boy to sign the paper on behalf of his father. After the flood, Zoe and Hoofa emerged from the water and discovered that Spindly had managed to save the potion. They were overjoyed and took it to the council leader, but they found him buried under the rocks, disheartened by the colony's situation. The ants grew even more anxious after this incident, as all the attacks had occurred without any provocation. At that moment, the wizard informed them that his potion was ready, and at night, he gathered a group of ants to begin executing his plan. The small team entered the house and made their way to Lucas's room. When they arrived, Zoe poured the liquid into his ear. Within seconds, the potion took effect. Lucas woke up in the middle of the storm, realizing that everything around him had become gigantic. He noticed that he had shrunk and became very small. He panicked and fell off the bed, eventually landing in a bag of chips. When he came out, he found Zoe already waiting for him. Terrified, Grandma Mama woke up scared and went to Lucas's room to check if the boy was okay. At that moment, she saw her grandson in that state, being carried by the ants. Eventually, they took him outside the house. The insects threw him into the colony and then moved him to the place where his trial would take place. All the ants were waiting there to see what would happen. They were astonished because it was their first time seeing a human up close. The guards dragged him to the council. Fogix read out the charges against him and announced the entrance of the queen, who would deliver the final verdict. The queen decided not to kill the boy because if they did, they would only protect themselves temporarily, but the danger would remain, and humans might attack them again later. The idea was to force Lucas to live with them in the colony to learn how to be an ant. This way, they could build a better future for all the ants. Hoofa volunteered to take charge of teaching him on this journey. The next morning, the training began, but Lucas tried to hide from her and plan his escape. Then he made clothes using items he found around the colony. With Hoofa's help, he realized there was no point in running away, as he wouldn't return to his normal self until he learned how to be an ant. Hoofa offered to help him find his place in the colony. She tried to integrate him into a team because the trainer was her friend, Krilla. She placed him with the blue team, which was the boys' team in the colony. The first challenge required the entire team to work together to overcome obstacles and retrieve the jelly blocks, which they called the sweet rocks, and return to the nest. The team that returned first would win, but for that to happen, the entire team had to make it back without leaving anyone behind. Krilla started the challenge. The first obstacle they faced was crossing a crack in the ground. The blue team joined forces to form a bridge, but Lucas decided to cross alone, resulting in him falling into the crack. Of course, he needed his teammates to rescue him so they could cross the water pool, which also required teamwork once again. In the end, Lucas accidentally gets separated from the rest of the team and finds himself in front of the sweet rock. The ants get very excited because of the boy's speed. His team decides to use the same method to fly and reach their goal quickly. Now, the challenge is to return to the colony before the red team. They need to climb the rock, but Lucas can't climb like the ants. His teammates try to help him, but the red team reaches the finish line first and wins the game. Hova praises Lucas for his performance, but he tells her he's not good at teamwork. While they're talking, Hova senses something approaching and quickly pulls the boy to run to a safe place. After a while, a group of wasps approaches the colony and kidnaps some of them. At that time, the ant unites to attack them and throws stones at their enemies. One of the wasps attacks Krilla, but Zog saves her, hitting the insect in the head with his magical strength, and runs to help Hova, who was attacked while protecting Lucas. Magic asks him to help her, but Lucas gets scared and decides to run away. Zog comes to help her, but the wasp kidnaps her and flies away. Meanwhile, another wasp chases Lucas, and he gets an idea. He runs to use the bomb that was lying in the garden and manages to get rid of the insect. Lucas takes a piece of glass and directs the sun's rays to its fuse. The fire catches it, and the wasp tries to attack Lucas, but its stinger gets stuck in the bomb. Lucas runs away before it explodes. At that moment, Zog appears, and unfortunately, he also gets caught in the bomb. The wasp carrying Hova drops her and escapes with its swarm. When the ants see their enemies fleeing, they say all the credit goes to the destroyer. They thank him for saving the colony, but Zog is very angry about what happened because he knows Lucas was only trying to save himself. At night, they celebrate the colony's victory. Fugax brings nectar to drink. When Lucas sees his new friends enjoying the food, he decides to try it too and finds it delicious. He eats it all and goes to get more. That's when Lucas discovers that what he's eating is actually larva waste. He feels a terrible stomachache. Hova gives him a plant carrot and puts it in a drop of water. After drinking the medicine, he burps loudly, heard throughout the colony. Then, he feels better. After finishing dinner, Hova, Fugax, and Krilla decide to take him to meet a new friend. They descend fresh from the sky like rain. And here, Lucas remembers he signed a contract with the pesticide company representative. He runs quickly to the house to try to stop it. Krilla tries to stop Lucas, but he promises her that if his friends help him, they will get plenty of sweet nectar as they want. As they crawl under the door, they find a heavy and high rug in front of them, slowing their movement. Lucas gets an idea to use rose petals as parachutes. They climb onto the table, each holding a leaf, waiting for Lucas to say go so they can jump together. When they jump, the fan's air lifts them, allowing them to move freely in the room. But they leave Fugax still standing in place. When he tries to fly, he falls into the fan, but he was lucky, and he manages to get out alive. The whole group goes to the kitchen and finds many jelly pieces there. Lucas runs to the phone, and Fugax and Krilla go to get the sweets. Lucas dials the pest control company's number, but he writes the last number wrong. He calls a pizza restaurant by mistake, thinking it's someone else. He tells them he wants to cancel the contract. After the call, he feels relieved. Then the phone rings, and Tiffany comes to answer. When she finishes the call, she sees Fugax running to grab a jelly piece, but Tiffany hits him, thinking only of killing that disgusting insect. Grandma Mamo runs quickly to stop her, fearing that Tiffany might have killed Lucas, knowing that her grandson shrank to the size of an ant. It's dark when the group returns to the ant nest. Zog is very happy to see Hova, The magician was very worried about his beloved, who disappeared without explanation. When he discovers they were in a human nest, Zog gets angry because that place is forbidden and very dangerous. To prevent Lucas from putting Hova in danger again, he threatens not to give him the medicine to return to his normal size, as he poses a threat to them. Lucas gets scared and runs away. At that moment, Zog enters the colony. When Hova sees her love alone, she asks him where Lucas is. The magician tells her he disappeared. Initially, Hova gets angry and disappointed in Zog, then goes to look for Lucas. Fugax and Krila decide to go with her because they know Lucas can't spend the night alone in another place. Lucas was sitting by the lake, upset that he couldn't return home. At that time, he meets a beetle, which disappears when Lucas washes his face. Then Lucas searches for the insect and discovers a frog hiding in the lake, ready to devour him. The frog sticks out its tongue to try to suck Lucas into its mouth as Lucas runs. His friends find him, and they all run from the frog. The ants manage to save themselves by climbing onto a soda bottle, but Lucas can't do it. He manages to climb a few centimeters before slipping, and the frog swallows him. Zog appears at the right time, and when he sees him, he feels sad for Lucas, feels guilty, and decides to intervene. Lucas meets the beetle he saw inside the frog's stomach and finds a glowing beetle and a mosquito. When he sees a dead insect amidst the filth, they are all disgusted and want to leave that place. Outside, Zog provokes the frog to swallow him too. He holds a carrot in his hand, planning to use it to save Lucas. Indeed, the frog swallows Zog, and as soon as he enters, he sticks the carrot inside the frog's stomach. The frog starts to bubble, and shortly after it regurgitates, and he manages to get him out safely. As soon as he gets out, the mosquito celebrates its freedom, but the joy doesn't last as another frog swallows it. Zog and Lucas meet the other ants, and Hova forgives her beloved. Since they are far from the colony, they decide to camp in their place. In the morning, Fugax is the first to wake up and sees the ant mother heading to the colony. He starts screaming loudly, and his friends wake up immediately. When Lucas looks, he discovers it's a car from the pest control company. At that moment, he realizes his plan failed. That day, all the colony members, they are happy that the Ant Queen has finally arrived, but Zog tells them the truth. Lucas says that the man will spray his poison and kill everyone in the colony. When they ask him how he knows all this, Lucas admits that he saw it himself. The council leader orders the guards to finish him off, but Lucas has an idea. He suggests that Zog use his potion to shrink the man just like he did to him. After that, they go together to the wasp's nest to ask for help, risking their lives in the process. The wasps agree to help them get rid of Stan. They ride on the wasps' backs and fly towards Stan's head, but they find his head protected by headphones. At that moment, Stan is killing all the insects attacking him. When he goes to recharge the device, he removes the headphones. At that time, Lucas tries to attack him, but the wasp he was riding gets hit, and Lucas falls onto Stan's head. There, Lucas finds fleas and a lot of dandruff. At that moment, Stan scratches his head. Lucas jumps onto his face to escape, but he falls onto Stan's nose. Stan blows him off with a sneeze, but Hova catches him. Just when they think everything is fine, they are attacked and fall to the ground. The wasp falls on Hova, and neither of them can move. When Lucas sees the smoke approaching, he considers escaping, but he remembers that the ants are his team and refuses to abandon them. He lifts the wasp with his hands, allowing Hova to free herself. Thus, the three of them manage to escape. They end up near the mailbox. Hova climbs up with Lucas following her, but it seems the smoke engulfed him. Surprisingly, Lucas manages to climb onto the wooden plank, saving himself and the wasp. After they ride with Zog, they now have a new plan. Instead of pouring the potion into Stan's ears, they put it on the wasp's stinger and sting Stan. Afterward, the man shrinks, but not to the size of an ant. He becomes the size of a child. Now he can't harm them, so the remaining wasps gather together and attack him. Stan is now too short to open the car, so he steals a bicycle and rides away. In the end, they return to the colony and declare Lucas their hero. At that moment, the queen appears and grants him freedom. Before leaving, he bids farewell to his friends, and Zog gives him the potion. Afterward, Hova escorts Lucas outside, and after drinking the liquid, he returns to normal. His grandmother witnesses what happened from her window. She is very happy that her grandson has returned. A few hours later, Lucas's family returns from their trip. Lucas runs to hug his mother. When his family goes inside to unpack their bags, Steve and his gang come to bother Lucas. But Lucas is no longer the same. He decides to confront him. Steve gets very angry at Nico and threatens to hit him. Lucas and all the weaker kids gather and fight against the bully Steve. The little kids are excited and chase after Steve, but in the end, Steve turns out to be a coward and runs away from them. Now that they are no longer under the mercy of the bully Steve, they ask Lucas to play with them. But before they go to play, Lucas throws a lot of jelly pieces near the ant colony. Thank you for watching. Subscribe to the channel and activate the bell to receive all new updates. See you in the next video. Goodbye.